You know, let's get this thing.
This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbelo Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The queen, the cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American dream! Nasty round! Too sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this. He's I don't believe it.
What's going on there, Reflectionites? What is going on there to the Vetoites, the Hominites, the probationary PWCites? And you know what? I'm going to do another probationary person. The man that slid into the professor's DM, no diddy, but he said, Professor, I might want to do a run-in. I might want to do a chair shot and hit TW over the head. I might want to do a Stone Cold Stunner on Big Ray, executive producer extraordinaire. And I said, cool, you want to do it? Come on down to the PWR at HowManyMediaPodbeam.com. You are always welcome. You are family. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it's because it's been 3.5 years since we heard these melodious tones that he was a member of the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. He ventured down to Florida. He is the HVAC king of the Florida coastline and all that stuff. But the prodigal one, JB, where are you at? Again, where are you at? We have sent out a search party. We even, I don't know what happened. But sometimes with these conspiracy theorists, Jeffrey Epstein, they said he committed suicide, but the conspiracy theorists said no way, no how. Diddy's house got raided by the feds. Donald Trump's house got raided by the feds. A lot of conspiracy theories happen. So I don't know. I'm not going to start no conspiracy theories. But you know what? The feds are after you, JB. That's what it is. I know that you're going to vote for Trump. They're trying to take your vote away from you. They're trying to deport you, even though you're a naturalized citizen. All that stuff. But see, the problem is with the prodigal one, Reflectionites, the man travels all around. He travels all over the world. If you see his Facebook page, he's in Istanbul, he's in Egypt, he's in Atlantis. If he finds a hotel in Atlantis, he'll be there with his wife, his lovely wife. But you know what? The Biden people, they marked him as a terrorist. That's what it is. That's my conspiracy theories. And they don't want him to come back into this country. And then he's gonna vote for Trump. They're trying to take his vote away. They're trying to take his wife's vote away. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's the truth. The professor is the most objective one in this political hemisphere. And even TW will agree with me. He nodded his head. Yes, of course. That's what they're doing. That's what the liberals are doing. They're trying to steal his votes away. No, they're not only trying to steal his votes away, they're trying to reverse his vote. They're going to make him vote for Kamala Harris. Somehow, some way, he'd be like, I never voted for that bitch. But it will happen. Right, TW?
Our dead relatives are already voting for him.
See, it is what it is.
By mail.
Dead votes matter. Mark my words. Dead votes matter. But anyway, welcome to the PWR podcast here at the How Mean Media Group at PodBeam.com. And welcome to an episodic episode of the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast. We're at episode 187 for Donnie Day 1. Haven't heard from him in a couple of weeks, Reflectionites. So I know that two things are happening. One, he's taking a break from his binging. So when he takes a break from his binging, then he has to re-binge and catch up to what I'm doing. That's why I'm, secretly trying to hold off on that elusive 200 for Donnie Day 1. I can't see the cops are coming. But anyway, I'm trying to find some other subjects to talk about. So before we get to the elusive 200, he'll be live in a living color to enjoy it with all the Reflectionites out there. The Green Pieces, the Philip Scott Wood, the Gooch of Thunder, the SNX Express, Michael Davis, Jeff Lippert. You know who you are. But anyway, it is the PWR podcast, and I am your elusive man here. I am the charismatic one. I am the effervescent one. But most importantly, I'm the glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, probationary, solitary confinement, PWC punditry. The only objective man that ain't voting for nobody. My vote will be for Joe Pesci. My vote will be for George Carlin. That's the people who I will vote for president and vice president, respectively. How do you look at me like that?
Carlin's voting already. He's dead.
But I'm going to vote for him. But I trust him to run the country more than I trust the two live people. But anyway, neither here nor there. I'm the Professor Chubell Cruz, and I'm not here alone. No. I'm here with my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, Dum doing it's on the Iron Stomach one, and the Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the World. Woo! Tommy Wonder, how you doing, my friend?
I'm so damn tired. Let me tell you about paddleboard. It paddles your ass, dude. When you go out on Lake St. Clair, which connects to the Detroit River, it is motherfucker. And this past Saturday was Raft Off, which they have twice a year in the summer. They have in June Jobby Nooner, and then in August they have Raft Off. It's where all the boats tie up for like a mile, like boat connected to boat connected to boat. And then the other side, so that you call it the gauntlet. I've been hammered many a times in that gauntlet. And this year, my buddy Eddie decided, because I was supposed to go, I was going to call in sick to work Saturday and go to the raft top of my buddy's boat. He had to bust out another 1,000, as they call it, with the acronym for boat. And so we didn't go. But after work, and I got done at like noon, we paddleboarded off this place called Harson's Island. I had to take a ferry over. Wasn't a fan of that. I was in the front car, and it kept looking like that plate was going to fall off, and then my ass would fall off in the lake with it, and I didn't like it at all. But we get there, and you get in the water, and we're going. I'm seeing this new girl. She's paddling next to me on her gimmick, and we're going. And I say to her, pretty sure when we round these weeds, we're going to be at Raft Off, which is a bad idea. This is people drinking from 7 a.m. till they go home by one of their drunk asses driving the boat. And as we're getting out there, the police are just whack-a-moling.
Where were you on that level of drinking?
I drank one drink. Dude, I literally thought one of the four of us were dying. It was actually 4 paddleboards, 5 people. And as we're going out, the police boat is just playing whack-a-mole, just pulling over people one at a time. I don't know if you go on the water a lot, but there's called no wake zones, where as soon as you get to it, you have to stop, flooring it and just be idle so that there's no wake behind you, because it messes up the boats that are docked and people that are on paddleboards. And these drunk ass kids are coming 3 deep, 3 butts to nuts on a fucking jet ski, coming in hot. And it ended up pushing me through the weeds. You said butts.
You said butts to nuts.
That's what it's called when a dude rides on the back of a bike with another dude driving it. Kind of like how you got the Diddy's house. I
got nothing on this one. Go ahead. Your story.
So anyway, it's going nuts. And then my buddy Eddie's up in front of me. Nate's in between us. Then it's me. Then there's Tony. And this boat comes up. This older dude. He goes up to my buddy, and I see him go, "Are you guys going to Raft Off?" Like with concern. And I can't hear my buddy. Then I hear the boat guy go, "Be careful out there," and take off. And then Eddie's paddling right for the shit. It's like a mile away, and he's paddling for it. And the problem isn't being at Raft Off. That's safe because they're all parked. You can just paddleboard through the gauntlet, right? Problem is getting to those boats on a paddleboard is playing Frogger on water with drunk people on jet skis, boats, jet boats, or dinghies who will run you the fuck over and never even know they did. And I thought we were dying for sure. So I slept a lot Sunday. Today I want to sleep because I did the Lake St. Clair yesterday. Again, choppy water. But I survived it all. And at the end of the day, I'm still here to tell another story. But I got an update. Since you haven't heard from him, I have. Congratulations, Donnie. By the time you hear this, you have been driving for 6 to 8 months. He got his license for the first time in his life just the other day. We had a nice little interaction because for whatever reason, 2 days before he told me he got his license, I was remembering how my mom got her license at 32 years old and how fun it was for me at 5 to 10 years old to be with my mom as she was learning how to drive on her own. It was a gas, meaning I was scared shitless very often. But she did it at 32. She figured it out. She ended up becoming a good driver. You never would have knew she got her license so late in life. And Donnie's even older than that.
You're never too old. That's what it is.
It's never. That's what I told Donnie. I said, listen, man, it don't matter how old you were when you got it. What matters is that you got it. You wanted it, and now you have it. And congratulations. So that's what Donnie's up to.
You could have asked him where he was on the watching and the binging.
That's your game. I'm not going to say
mine.
That's your game.
We are a partnership. It's 50-50. But I feel like I do like.
Tell him, now that you got a car, you fire that podcast up and you just boom, boom, boom. You rapid fire him every day and you're driving.
Well, hopefully he does that. But with that being said, we are on episode 187 TW. So it is still a milestone to even reach 187, even though we are over 200 and maybe
we got 13 to go
on the episodic part. Yes, 13 to go.
How many weeks left in this year?
I don't know, man.
8, 12, 16. We only got 16 to 18 weeks left, man. Maybe 19.
Dude, I am not doing the math right now, man. My head is hurting. I just want to do.
We're supposed to finish at New Year's. We're supposed to hit number 200 at New Year's.
I never guaranteed that. That was you. You were the one that said that. So it's not me, Reflectionites.
Big Ray. Juice.
Well, that's on Ray too. But anyway, neither here nor there. But we're on episodic episode 187 TW, and I picked not a doozy of an episode, but I picked an episode that you and I have not even talked about in our years of doing this nostalgic podcast. This event actually escaped me. It escaped you because, again, for the purposes of Reflectionites, this is not an event that's regularly scheduled on the Peacock. No. This was actually available, TW, if you didn't have it. If you subscribed on your, let's say, your cable networks or whatever the case may be, this was on the WWE 24/7 on demand, which I did subscribe to before the WWE network. Neither here nor there. But it's hard to find this because this event was never meant to be on pay-per-view. This event was never meant to be televised, Reflectionites. This event was actually tailor-made, TW, for Coliseum home video. So this event was tailor-made for that specific purpose, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin got to enjoy this. Milwaukee County Stadium, the former stadium home of the Milwaukee Brewers, TW. This is what is this? 4 hours of a drive from you, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. How far is this from you?
Milwaukee. I drove to Travis, and that took 17 hours, and it took 10 to get to St. Paul, well, the Tri-Cities in Minnesota. So I would probably say 6 to 8 hours, maybe. Actually, depends on where Milwaukee is. I think I got to Madison in about, like, Chicago's 4, and then it's another hour north on 94 to get to Wisconsin. So it depends on where Milwaukee is. So I'd say between 5 and 10. Not 5 and 10, 5 and 8.
5 and 8 hours. Yeah, that seems about right. But this was for Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Reflectionites. This was WrestleFest 1988 TW. So, this was in Milwaukee County Stadium. This is the baseball stadium, the former baseball stadium, home to the Brewers, TW. Again, they've upgraded since then. So, they got a better home. The Brewer, I forgot what the Brewers Dome is called, but that's going to be the future home of Royal Rumble in maybe, I think, 2025, if I'm not mistaken. But again, neither here nor there, TW. But the reason that I
2025?
Maybe. I think it's either 2025 or 2026. So
Minneapolis
they're getting
26.
They're getting
night one.
They're getting the Royal Rumble. I know Milwaukee's getting the Royal Rumble. I just don't know which year. But again, that's semantics. But again,
I'm telling you, it's not for 2 years because the first one's in Indy and the next one's in Minneapolis.
Again, I'm doing a lot of stuff here, TW. I'm organizing the show. I can't remember everything. Again, I'm the professor, but I can't be smart on everything. Lex Luthor and I are geniuses, but we just can't get every detail. That's why we need our minions. We need our assistants. But anyway, again, neither here nor there. But TW, this is a very intriguing episode here that we are going to do for a plethora of reasons. And number one is this, because this event, WrestleFest 88, the hell are you doing? What are you doing?
Can't be sitting here with that little tiny ass belt. I gotta have
All right.
I gotta go Rick Victory on you and have a real belt.
All right. Have the Tully Blanchard belt on around your shoulders. But
that's
anyway,
a fucking win. That's a win.
I'm giving you credit.
Tully. You said it, Tully.
Yeah, I'm giving you. That didn't mean that you won. I'm just saying for you.
You didn't call it the arm belt. You called it the Tully.
I wanted to call it the arm belt, but you know what? I pulled back because again, I'm a nice guy. But anyway, neither here nor there. But WrestleFest 88 TW. Before we even talk about the ambiance, the announcers, the matches that we saw here, this event at Milwaukee County Stadium in front of 26,000 people. WWE was making a statement. By the time it's 1988, stop with the thumbs up. I see it sometimes. But anyway.
It was half on there, half off.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, let me do my spiel. Stop it. Please, Stop it. But anyway, let me do my spiel here. By the time it's 1988, we already know where the WWE is or WWF. Stop it with the goddamn thumbs up.
I'm not doing nothing.
I'm trying to do a show here. But anyway, we already know where the WWE is. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. But anyway, we know where the WWE is. Oh, I was waiting for the thumb. There it goes. Well, we know where the WWE is in 1988 TW. Let's be serious here. The NWA is number 2 in North America.
About to be WCW soon.
WCW already bought it. They're already
right. I'm saying they haven't renamed it, but it's also they just absorbed the UWF.
Yeah, so UWF is absorbed. AWA and Jerry Lawler is trying to hold on to what they got. World Class is trying to hold on. The territories are dying here. So this event alone in itself is like Vince McMahon telling all the other competing organizations, F you, we are the best show in North America. We're the best show in town. So, TW, what say you about that mantra of the business in 1988 for them to just do this? Because let's just, a couple of months before this has happened in July of 1988, July 31st, 1988, for logistical purposes, Tito. Just a couple of months ago, they already did WrestleMania at the Trump Plaza. A month later in August, they're going to do their first pay-per-view of SummerSlam at Madison Square Garden. And that will become the second biggest pay-per-view of the calendar for WWF. So what say you, TW, about the mantra of the business? Just say, fuck you to Jim Crockett. Fuck you to Vern Gagne. I just want to put on a stadium show just for the heck of it.
And that's the fucking thing, right? Because that's basically what the Great American Bash was a series, and then it became a pay-per-view. But it's like how the Survivor Series was a big fuck you to Starrcade, and it was so successful that they moved that shit to December, which always pissed me off. I never once ordered a pay-per-view of NWA ever because fucking I lived in Detroit and we couldn't. By the time I moved to Warren and we had cable, the Starrcade started becoming in December, but I would watch Survivor Series, and so it was kind of a win-win for us because you didn't have to choose between watching one or the other, and I believe replays cost exactly the same. Like you didn't get the replay cheaper than it was live.
No,
but by the time you would watch a replay, you already fucking knew what happened. So why would you even bother? You know what I mean? I would wait for Coliseum Home Video, which would be about 3 months later. You could go rent it at the fucking store, and that's how I would watch a lot of it.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that because in pay-per-views, the 80s pay-per-views Reflectionites, I don't know if it was everywhere. I don't know if it was in Detroit, TW, but like here in the tri-state area, in the Bombay area, if you pay, let's say, $39.95 for WrestleMania 4 live, once it cut off, let's say if it was from 8 to 11 p.m., right? 11:01, that replay wasn't part of the first, wasn't part of the live bundle, like it got into the late 2000s, like it got into the 2000s. You had to pay another $29.95 if you wanted to, like, oh, I forgot the first match. You had to pay another $29.95, and if you got, like, let's say a reduced,
it was pay per view. It wasn't pay per day. It was per view.
But if there was a discount, it might have been a week later, and probably they took like $4 off.
I think it was 2 weeks later. It went down to like either $10 off or half off,
maybe.
And then it was like fucking $8 the rest of the month or some shit.
But neither here nor there. But TW, let's put a bow on this because again, like you and I agree, this event alone It's not for pay-per-views.
And
it's
outdrew WrestleMania that year.
Yeah, because they got almost 26,000 paid people in a stadium like that. And funny enough, this should have been WrestleMania 4 if they wanted to try that. But you know how it is. I think Vince McMahon, in comparison to WrestleMania 3, to have 25 or 26,000 in Milwaukee County Stadium, which holds maybe, let's say 50,000, 40 or 50,000, that would have been an insult. Vince McMahon's like, no, we don't need them. We can't have empty seats. We need to have 50,000. So that you can see the vanity in Vince McMahon saying we can't do a stadium show if we're not going to fill every seat to capacity. But in the old school days, TW, you and I know this. Stadiums weren't meant to be filled up to capacity.
Right.
They conspicuously,
like Shea Stadium.
They did it on purpose to shield off certain sections. It wasn't meant for it. It was just to have the ring and a good view for everybody. Let's say the 25 or 26,000. They wanted 26,000 people to be happy enough to see it. But then with the success of this 93,000, yes, Meltzer, it's still 93,000 to me, damn you. But 93,000 in the Silverdome, TW, Vince McMahon didn't care if 93,000 were totally happy. You was there. Was you totally happy with your view?
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate. He was happy that people were happy to be there because you wouldn't pay for the ticket. To this day, I have never once complained about where my seat was, but to this day, I still talk about being there. Right, no matter how little they were. To me, in 1987, not even yet 14 years old, it was the highlight of my life, and I had only been into wrestling for between WrestleMania 1 and 2 is when I started watching it. So whenever Saturday night went from being 7:00 p.m. to becoming 11 a.m. the very next week, I watched the very last 7 p.m. one. So however long that was, for me to just be there, I was happy to be there. And just recently, SummerSlam and SmackDown, I sat further away for SummerSlam than people would have even had available tickets for modern day because, it was kind of far back, but it was straight shot. And sometimes my view was the same size as the view on the screen. Like the screen looked like my view because they did they zoomed in from far away with that whatever the fuck they're called, drones or whatever. But I would say it's greed has something to do with it because you want to fucking make money. But just like with this stuff around me, I could sell it, but it could say it's worth fucking $3,000, but it's only worth what somebody will pay. And people paid for nosebleed tickets for WrestleMania 3. So going forward, fuck it, let's sell them. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes they add 16,000 seats to Wembley Stadium, but that's okay. That's a whole other story.
Again, neither here nor there, Reflectionites. But TW, before we get into this I was going to call it pay-per-view, but a special Coliseum home video event, WrestleFest 1988. Let's do a hypothetical again because you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to harp on it just for a second because Dusty Rhodes created the Great American Bash concept, and it was a tour. So they toured like the beginning, like the end of June. Let's just per se, hypothetically, the end of June to the end of July. And then when the pay-per-view business dealings happened, TW, whether it was the middle of July or whatever, they would nestle in that pay-per-view on a Sunday. But it was a month. Now, it dawns on the professor, TW, I don't know if you caught this, but again, this is July 31st, 1988. SummerSlam, God damn it with the goddamn thumbs up. Jesus Christ. But anyway, WrestleFest happened in Put that left hand up. Put the left hand up right now. Leave it. God damn you.
It's this hand. It's holding the belt.
So what is wrong with your iPad? But anyway, neither here nor there. But TW. But anyway, all seriousness, Reflectionites, I'm trying my best. I'm going to have to soldier on with these thumbs up. But TW. It dawns on me because with the Great American Bash monthly concept, like the month tour, like you just said a couple of minutes ago, think about it this way. Hypothetically, WrestleFest happened July 31st, 1988. SummerSlam, the first SummerSlam was August 30th, 1988. You could have done the SummerSlam tour for a month from the end of July to the end of August to Labor Day right there. WWE could have just copied Dusty Rhodes' mantra a month later. It doesn't affect them because Vince McMahon kind of, in quotes, Reflectionites, kind of respects the Great American Bash Tour. He's not trying to interfere or try to put competition on that TW. So he could have done his own SummerSlam tour. It could have been the SummerSlam tour presents WrestleFest, and then you end it with a pay-per-view. So let's say with that maybe that lost concept. Nick Khan is a Reflectionite. He listens to this show. So Nick Khan, I'm giving you right now an advice. I'm giving you more opportunities to make money. You could actually do a SummerSlam tour. And actually, TW, they're trying to steer away from house shows, right? This could be the ultimate house show tour. You did a stadium show to start it, right? Like they did it, and they ended it with a pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden. You could do the same thing because let's just say, hypothetically, 89, you could have had the same thing. A stadium show to start off at the end of July to SummerSlam 89, and so on and so forth. There probably been a break of you couldn't do a stadium show like in the mid-90s when the WWF was not popular. But then the Attitude Era kicks in, and then the Ruthless Aggression kicks in. So you could probably go back to that stadium show and all that stuff. What say TW about what could have been with a SummerSlam tour like this if they wanted to go that route?
Well, the weird thing is we're watching WrestleFest 88. There's an 89. Both are not on a Peacock. And then 90 through 92 is. Mm-hmm. So 93 is when the business was in the shitter. They probably didn't do it. But what's amazing to me is 88 WrestleFest, unless it was a fucking testing ground, because Madison Square Garden, what do they hold for wrestling? 20,000?
The old arena, yeah, 20,000.
So it wasn't really testing for that because it's amazing to me that since they did WrestleFest first, that wasn't the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, especially that card. Bulldogs versus Demolition, Duggan versus Honky Tonk Man, Jake the Snake versus Rude, and obviously Hogan Andre for the third fucking time. By the way, every one of those matches very well done, very well. Good finishes.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Let's just.
The thing is, this was a quality show. It wasn't a bullshit house show with fucking dusty finishes, right? It was definitive, and it was winners and losers except one. And it was just really, really well done. And it reminded me of WrestleMania 1 because you had Neidhart versus Lanny Poffo, which would be like Jake the Snake versus George Wells. You had job guys. I think Snuka fought Brooklyn Brawler or Steve Lombardi in one. So there was Iron Mike Sharp. Maybe they had job guys at WrestleMania 1, and they had them here. And like
the only two job guys was the Execution and SD Jones on TV. If there were dark matches, I didn't see that. I don't know about that.
Jake the Snake and George Wells must have been WrestleMania 2 then.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's what I mean. They had job guys. I do remember SD Jones got the 5 count, the record victory for. But this event, I mean, and by the way, when you just told me it was only 26,000 people, that floored me because I thought it was bigger. It looks so much bigger. It's kind of like when was it Cotton Bowl was where Kerry Von Erich and them would wrestle. Where it just looked like there was fucking 93,000 people there, but there you could see empty seats way in the back,
right?
For that, but the floor, the field, that was full, and then the lower bowl, forward,
the important sections where wrestling
nobody was up way the fuck high. Whereas this, I must not have paid attention to the audience too much, but to me it looked sold out, like it was fucking 50,000 people. That's why I said they outdrew Trump. Trump probably was only fucking 10,000 people or less.
Yeah, that was the Trump Plaza Convention Center. Yeah, it could have been 5,000, maybe 10.
Right,
from the 5 to 10,000 range.
It was a nice AEW Dynamite crowd. It was, about 5,000.
Yeah. You agree with me that this could have been a lost maybe
they could
tradition?
Have this cow. I just feel like my point was before I got asking questions is. This would have felt like the feeler show if it would have been in 87, and because it was successful, 88 became the pay-per-view, right? But this wasn't. This was just a Coliseum Video had a lot of shit that was just for Coliseum Home Video. I think I told you this before. I don't know why I knew this before I knew wrestling was predetermined. I knew this when I thought wrestling was not predetermined. They tell you if you saw a camera at the Cobo Hall or a camera at Joe Louis Arena, that means they were recording it for something. And that's what made you think there was possibly going to be a title change. And Ronnie Garvin won the world title from Ric Flair in basically a house show at Cobo Hall. First time NWA came to Michigan. Bret Hart won the belt from Ric Flair in Saskatoon. And at first they tried saying they didn't have cameras there, but now you can watch that match fucking anytime you want because there was cameras there, right? So
semantics, TW. You know that. It's just semantics.
Could have been way bigger. Like it's untapped potential because it could have been. I mean, even if you went back to like we say a month tour, next year go to the same exact fucking cities, so that how we wait every year to watch WrestleMania, to watch Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and it's in a different city every year. But if you locally knew that WrestleFest 88 came to Wisconsin and they're coming again next year, it's something that you feel like you have to look forward to. Probably be the same fucking finishes and everything in every town, but
it's something that belongs to that city and it feels special to them.
Not on TV. You can get it on video later, but at the time, which again, if you keep doing these same finishes and everything, you can't put it on video because it will expose the business.
Yeah, that too. But also the problem with that would be, again, is the AEW effect right now, Reflectionites. If you do Milwaukee every year, you couldn't start the tour of Milwaukee. Again, the attendance would go down. Maybe the excitement would go down too. So that's just my humble opinion. That's why you got to move it around.
A big show like that. That was fucking WrestleMania. But again,
like I said before, I said that from 88 to 92, you could have started with a stadium and then ended with a pay-per-view, no matter where. Because let's look at 92, for example, Reflectionites. 92 was London, England. So if you did a tour starting, let's say Giant Stadium, right, TW? Let's just say in 92. You go from Giant Stadium to start, and then you end in Wembley Stadium for 92. Jesus Christ, the money that Vince McMahon would have made that year alone would have been good. But again, just that's hyperboles and all that stuff. So now, TW, let's get into this WrestleFest 1988 because it's very intriguing knowing that a month away, we got SummerSlam 88 on the horizon in MSG. So the biggest feud of SummerSlam 88, you already know it. It's the Mega Powers against the Mega Bucks. And WrestleFest 1988 has the Mega Powers and the Mega Bucks in singles action. So TW, with that being said, we can talk about it for a second. Macho Man is the heavyweight champion of the world. So you have a double main event no matter what. He's defending his title against the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, because again, they're extending that feud from the WrestleMania 4 tournament to now we're getting, what is that? 5.
That was on the show we're talking right now?
Yes, it was.
I didn't get that one. The last match I got was Hogan Andre. I thought that was the main event.
Again, that's my job, and I'll talk about it. But you already kind of know who won if I'm telling you this right now.
Clearly.
You don't even need to fucking know what happened and how it happened. But anyway, that's hyperbole. But TW, you have and again, the other double main event is the steel cage match of Hogan against Andre. So semantics wise, TW, you're trying to do the payoff of a feud, like let's say Hogan and Andre with the steel cage is the blow-off feud, but again, a month later, you got the tag team match. So logistically and let's say logically, does it make sense for WrestleFest to like split them up and then a month later to have this, as the total blow-off? What say you, TW, about that logically? Because I kind of find some flaw in that kind of concept, in my opinion.
What was 89? Who was Hogan's partner against Zeus and Macho Man?
Beefcake.
Was Hogan and Beefcake?
Yeah.
And then Hogan and Warrior fought Slaughter and
Iron Sheik.
That was 90 or 91?
91.
What's 90?
What, of SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Hogan and Earthquake.
That's the main?
The double main event.
Who's the other one?
That was Warrior and Rude in the cage.
That's a good one. That's a good one there. So that's what I got questions once we get started talking about this fucking show.
Mm-hmm.
How in the fuck? This is Warrior doesn't win the belt for another year.
No, another month.
Oh, he won it at Summer. That's what it is. This isn't SummerSlam. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, because Honky Tonk's against Duggan. But this is Mandela effect shit here. Hogan or Warrior fights Heenan in a fucking weasel suit match.
I'm not talking about those matches.
I know, but Rude fights Jake the Snake over Cheryl Roberts. Honky's fighting whatever. I always thought the Bobby Heenan stuff was after the Rude Warrior feud, which was over the IC belt.
No.
How did Warrior and Heenan start feuding before Warrior feuded with anybody in the damn?
You forgot Warrior's first feud with the Heenan family was against Hercules Hernandez.
That's right. WrestleMania was the posed out chain, whatever the fuck.
Could have been. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, logically, we're talking about the main event first. We're starting this. We're talking about this a little bit differently because again, this is a double main event. The Mega Powers and the Mega Bucks split up into singles action. TW. You got Macho and $1 Million Man, for in that part of the double main event, and of course you got Hogan and Andre in the steel cage. That's a blow off. So logically, you're doing that, but then you got a pay-per-view to start,
right,
coming on the horizon. So logically, does that make sense, or are you in? I guess you don't see a flaw in it. I just see a logistical flaw.
I think it should have been the other way around.
Okay.
I think WrestleFest should have been Hogan Andre versus DiBiase or whatever. Fuck. DiBiase and Andre versus Hogan and Macho. But here's the problem.
What's the problem?
Nobody really knows that match happens. They just know about the tag match. So that's probably the answer is the big blow off is the tag match because nobody realizes that Macho Man already cleaned up on DiBiase and Hogan cleaned up on Andre 33 weeks before, a month before in Milwaukee. Because it wasn't a pay-per-view. It wasn't on Saturday morning. And that damn Coliseum home video part didn't come out till the fall. It's not like you got it on demand. So,
really, like you said, the cameras were rolling. So you could have saw maybe one of these some of these matches on primetime wrestling. Because that you could see But
also, if you have, like, let's say WrestleFest was a house show version of Hogan and Andre, DiBiase, Macho, obviously, you know what I mean. Hogan and Macho versus Warrior. What the fuck? Mega Powers versus Mega Bucks. If you have a house show version of that, you run the risk of not getting people to buy the pay-per-view because they already saw it live.
Right.
Especially in 88. Motherfuckers ain't balling. And pay-per-views weren't cheap. So if you already paid a ticket to go to the show and saw it, you'll just hear about it, whatever. Now, obviously, the big difference would be that's when the eeny weeny teeny weeny bikini spot happened with Elizabeth, which probably wouldn't have happened at the house shows. But at the same time, house shows were a smaller scale version of the current storylines, right? But
wait a minute. WrestleFest 88 again. You're extending the feud of the Mega Powers and the Mega Bucks, so this has to be a continuation to get to that eeny weeny teeny bikini.
But that's what I'm explaining to you. Everyone knows since WrestleMania about the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. They've been pushing it. That's back when pay-per-views got pushed for 6 months before you had one. Right. And so everyone knew that match was coming. So you really, the only thing you could do different is Macho versus Andre and Hogan versus DiBiase, right? But then you can't. Then you had 900 people beating Andre after he never lost to anybody, And so I just think. So what I was about to say is normally, if the pay-per-view main event is Hogan versus Andre and Macho versus DiBiase, then the house show is going to be the tag match. But because the main event was the tag match, the house show was them in singles matches. They should have gotten involved, and I don't know if they did in the Warrior or the Macho Man DiBiase match because I didn't fucking see that one.
Well,
but also
I saw
Haku on the second video, but didn't see him on the first video.
You did not check all your messages. That's all I'll just say. But anyway,
you sent me one just in case, right?
Right. They're all there.
By the time I watched Hogan and Andre, I'd watched 37 matches, and I thought that was the main event. So I'm like, good, I got them all.
No, you didn't. But there was one more. But anyway, neither here nor there. I forgive you. But again, there's multiple messengers.
How about JB? We forget that, motherfuckers. He ain't here. Well, we're not giving out your fucking social media either, JB.
That's TW's discretion right there. But anyway, neither here nor there. But I'll talk about Macho Man.
Parents.
Decorum, TW, decorum. But anyway, I'll talk about the Macho Man Ted DiBiase match first. Again, he's defending his title against $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. He is the undisputed #1 contender to that title, and that feud has been popping all over, the country. So you already know that. Thank you very much, TW, for agreeing with me on that. But anyway, the funny thing about the finish, TW, was $1 Million Man was decimating him. He was beating him. Technically, he was technically sounder. He was
showing him why the UWF is the shit.
There you go. He was doing all that. He was giving him the wrestling lesson of his life. But then Macho Man, guess how he won? With a roll-up.
That's how you should win.
He won with a roll-up, and of course,
out of nowhere.
It was a roll-up out of nowhere. Yeah, that's how he won the match. And again, Ted DiBiase got the heat back on Macho Man Randy Savage. He beat him down a little bit more because he was surprised. He was shocked that, Macho Man came out of nowhere with the roll-up, TW. So with that logic, you can understand them continuing that feud. Do you agree with that? Or
it wasn't a definitive win.
It wasn't a definitive win. And, it kind of protects Ted DiBiase, and it protects this feud to move on to Madison Square Garden. Now, here's the thing with Hogan. Now we're going to have to talk about the match you did see with Hogan and Andre, because, again, steel cage matches, TW, in the 80s, meant that this particular feud between Hogan and Andre, which technically started in February of 1987 to now July of 1988, you had a year and change feud between them specifically. But with the other adding pieces of the Mega Powers and the Mega Bucks, can you explain to the Reflectionites the concept that one feud of them is over, but then the overall feud is still going on strong? How does that concept still work? Or
because Hogan and Andre finally wrapped up their business. DiBiase and Macho's business just started at WrestleMania when Hogan hit DiBiase with the chair to help Macho Man win. Mm-hmm. And so now basically it's Macho Man and DiBiase's feud, and Hogan and Andre are ornaments. They're decorating that feud on the side. They're adding to it. They're giving a little more sizzle to the steak.
Oh, okay. So TW, talk about that steel cage match. Were you pleasantly surprised? Was it good to you? Could have been better.
This match is so well done. They were afraid Andre couldn't do WrestleMania 3. And here he is a year and a half later doing a fucking cage match where Heenan did a lot of the bumping. Hogan did a lot of the bumping. I've never been a fan of Hogan climbing the cage to win. I know it was like fucking dragging your dick across their face as you took the longest possible way to win. It means you fucking smoked them, right? But
I have a conspiracy theory. I think that's why Vince converted from the regular fencing, the regular steel cage
Hogan
fences.
Can climb it.
So Hogan can climb it. So
why.
That's my conspiracy
theory. That's why
theory.
all the other guys hated that ring. It was a bit of fuck you, Hogan, but also, hey man, that shit hurts, because they call it the dreaded blue cage, right? Mm-hmm. And Heenan took some fucking mad bumps off that fucker.
Right.
What they should have done is kept the fencing, and then in the corner have wider holes for like the foot, because I actually thought I saw like an almost ladder for Hogan to come down, but it was just because of shadow. It looked like there was a line there, but
the holes were big enough for Hogan's foot.
No, I know that.
I mean, they were perfect.
I thought, like, literally right next to the post,
mm-hmm.
It looked like there was a straight ladder for Hogan to go down. Like, there wasn't a bar in between. Like, it was two.
Oh, okay. I got. Oh, okay.
It was one where there would have been two, and like every other. But then I saw it was just the way the light hit it. But anyway, they did a good match. Hogan got the hot dog. He went to climb, and it didn't. Then fucking Andre tried climbing for some reason. But it was to set up the finish for the end. And Andre was famous for doing that dumbass getting caught in the ropes with his arm. He did it every time. It was just as predictable as Dean Ambrose falling into the second rope and bouncing off with a clothesline. But it was so awesome because it was the same thing, but different. For one, he was climbing the fucking cage and then fell in between the ropes and the cage. Then Hogan hit him into the cage, and then he just dropped, and now he's facing the audience instead of facing
Was you shocked that the ring still held with Andre climbing?
The ropes, but they're cables. So their fucking ring hurts, dude. It's metal cables, not ropes. Actually, no, other way around. It's real ropes, and they don't have the same tension that the cables fucking hurt. That's the ones I did.
Oh, okay.
The rope, like if you watch a guy on the ropes, like all them springboards and things that they do, especially AJ and all that, It's harder to do it in a WWE ring than to do it in an indie ring where it's cable because it's firm. It's going to hold you up.
Gotcha.
But that's why Andre if Andre did that in them fucking cables, it's probably fucking cutting circulation off. Them ropes have way more give. But it's an awesome finish. Then Heenan gets in there and fucks with him, and then Hogan still climbs over the top. Then I think goes back in to whoop Heenan's ass or something. But just it was
he whoops Heenan a little bit, then climbs out and then poses, and that's how it was the send off.
Yeah, he walked around but didn't go back in the ring. But it was just so well done. My only gripe is, but as I was thinking it while you were talking about it, I thought, well, I guess it is fair. Hogan won in '97. Hogan got fucking hosed on the Saturday Night's main event where Andre won. Then they did a double DQ at WrestleMania 4. And so it was, especially what you were starting to say is when you had that cage match, that was the blow off for the feud. The feud was over after the cage. And so it was right for Hogan to win. But for me personally, especially hearing you talk about how they still had one more match to come, I think Andre should have won that match. I think he should have won, and he should have won clean because you're not putting a belt on him. He's just getting one on him, and then have Hogan pin Andre at SummerSlam to send it home.
Well, for Andre to win that steel cage match, the only thing that would have made sense would have been $1 Million Man or Virgil, kind of like.
Regardless, just have him win.
Restricting Hogan when he's climbing, and then maybe Andre
pulls out.
Right. Like Heenan gets him off the ropes and kind of pushes him out the door.
Because now you have both Andre and DiBiase losing at the WrestleFest. Then they go to SummerSlam and lose there too. So now it's not even looking like a feud. It's looking like a fucking sweep in a 7-game series.
That's why I said that to me would have been, that's the flaw of it, even though it is for Coliseum Home Video. And I agree with you 100% that this Coliseum Home Video probably didn't get distributed until after SummerSlam because that probably came out as a Christmas
looks
present.
Like it's the blow off.
Right. So that's the thing. So, I agree with you on 100%. Again, like I said,
you can't have DiBiase pin Macho Man or submit him because then Macho Man.
I have no problem. I have no problem.
That's why I think Andre should have beaten Hogan.
Right. And I have no problem with DiBiase losing, like you said, because again, like I said, he was giving him a wrestling lesson. Macho Man just pulled a roll up out of his ass and he won by luck. And I'm cool with that. And he got the heat on
WrestleMania 3 is the same thing. Steamboat obviously got offense in there. It was a long match. But Macho Man was fucking whooping his ass and almost doing the bell and everything again. George Animal Steel stopped that. But Macho Man was on cruise control and then got pinned in a small package. I mean, it was back and forth. It was more 50-50. But it was still Macho Man looked like he was going to win. And then Steamboat won out of nowhere. So those are the best matches. And Randy Orton referenced the Macho Man Steamboat match with Gunther.
So TW, before we talk about a couple of other matches that you saw.
No, it was Flair Steamboat. My bad.
Well, neither here nor there. That's just logistics reflections. But TW, with the matches you saw, let's not forget about the commentary team of WrestleFest 88 because we had Sean Mooney, Lord Alfred Hayes, and then the wild card. This man makes Excalibur seem like, Brian Gumble or something like that. But again, neither here nor there. But he makes Steve Mongo McMichael even one of the greatest color analysts in the world. And that's not a shoot. That's just the fact. But TW
shoots are facts.
It's both. But again, this was just a funny thing. But Superstar Billy Graham was the color analyst, TW. And again, I'm not trying to make fun of him, but I'm the most objective man in this thing. You already know me, TW. You know my moniker. The most objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. Again, I understand Vince McMahon being not loyal, but he's just fair. He's a fair businessman. And of course, Superstar Billy Graham was not. I don't know if he wanted to do the color commentary, but I know that Vince McMahon he thought that he has legs as long as he's on TV in some sort of capacity. Could Superstar Billy Graham become the next Jesse the Body Ventura on color commentary? Maybe Vince McMahon thought of that. In hindsight, he tried that. But again, Jesse the Body was a heel color analyst. You couldn't have Superstar Billy Graham being the good guy color analyst. If Superstar Billy Graham was his 1970s mantra that he's the best, he's the universal strong man and all that stuff, TW, too sweet to be sour. All the poet laureate that he does with the brash and the brazen, maybe he could have pulled it out of his ass.
Muhammad Ali of wrestling.
Right. So what say you about the commentary skills of all these three? Did it work? Did it mesh with you?
Exactly that. Like I had to figure. It took me a minute to figure out it was him, and then finally I heard him say "Daddy" or something. I'm like, "Yep, that's Billy Graham." I thought so, but I wasn't sure. And he was basically doing what Jesse did with heels. He was doing it with baby faces, and he did it with Brett. He's like, I love his hair. I love how he styles his hair and those shades. Reminds me of the Superstar. Like he was trying to make it like the reason he likes him is he reminds me of me, but not doing it with a heel. He did it with a baby face, which is funny because WrestleMania 4 must have been when Brett won the Battle Royal and then Bad News Brown kicked him in the back of the head.
Reverse. It was the other way around.
Bad News won it, and then Brett drop kicked him. Because that was how Brett turned babyface, and it's one of the rare things where Brett and Neidhart never turned on each other, but they went solo, but still had each other. They almost became stablemates instead of, but without Jimmy Hart. And so Brett, that kind of stinks then because
why did
Bad News win?
He won that Battle Royal in WrestleMania 4.
Right, but I know he won this match against Brett, and I was thinking Brett won the Battle Royal. And then Bad News got his revenge by beating him. But
no, so this was the continuation of that feud, the house tour
Bad
feud.
News won. I don't remember how he won. Did he hit the Ghetto Blast?
Yeah.
So he fucking jobbed him out then.
No, Bret Hart got a little bit of the comeuppance a little bit to a degree, but then of course
when you get pinned by the finish,
Bad News, but Bad News Brown was in a different level of the tiers. Bret Hart was the serviceable hand. He was not a jobber, but he was a serviceable hand. Even though that his tier was the tag team wrestling. The Hart Foundation was already the upper echelon of tag team wrestling, but Vince McMahon did not put them on upper echelon of singles wrestling, not just yet. Bret Hart had to earn that shit in the 90s.
Right, and it almost comes across as he's got his partner there, but he's not his partner, so that's why he lost, because he was outmatched by the more experienced singles wrestler in Bad News Brown. So I believe those guys knew each other from Calgary.
Yeah, from Stampede Wrestling. Yeah, he was one of Stu Hart's great people up on Stampede Wrestling.
Brett loved him. Brett absolutely loved him.
Yeah, they had that connection. But let's put a bow on the commentary. You don't like Superstar Billy Graham?
I didn't hate it. I don't like 3-man boosts, and I hated trying to figure out who was who. I kept thinking it was Sean Mooney, and then a couple times I thought it was Jim Ross, and then I'm like, I don't know who.
How the hell you think it's Jim Ross in 1988?
That's why I knew it wasn't him, because I'm like, why the fuck does it sound like Jim Ross? But it's 88. I don't even remember what year did he come in. 91,
93,
93. Ross got there.
Yes. Jesus.
Damn.
That's a lot of good weed out there in Detroit.
Hey, man, anyway. I knew it wasn't Jim Ross, but I kept saying it sounds like him. And then a couple times I thought Mooney, and I never really knew who the fuck it was. I knew it wasn't Ross. But then again, they would have guys commentating on primetime wrestling from fucking AWA, and you'd never see them again. They did that one match. They would have a ref from AWA or whatever. So they did do shit like that. And remember, even though it's Coliseum home video, it was a Milwaukee only situation. So
give or take to a degree, but there is some like you said with the Bad News Brown and Bret Hart, there was heat from WrestleMania 4 to culminate with this Coliseum home video exclusive Reflectionites. So another match that jumps out as one of the big ones, TW, is now the Weasel Suit match between the Ultimate Warrior and Bobby the Brain Heenan. And again, this is more of a hyperbole because this is a continuation for Ultimate Warrior's epic Phoenix push to a degree. But you got to start somewhere. So he started on the bottom rung of the Heenan family. It was Hercules. So someone had to build up the Ultimate Warrior. But this match was, let's just say an attraction, TW, because the Weasel Suit, we all know, is a gimmick match, but the Weasel Suit itself is owned and operated by Bobby the Brain Heenan. He brought that Weasel Suit because he had it in his house. It was his and his alone. He owned 100% of that. All that stuff, TW. So, again, we know where the Ultimate Warrior is going to be going in the next month. He's going to be given another Phoenix push by becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. But TW, with this a special attraction match between the Ultimate Warrior and Bobby the Brain Heenan, again, Ultimate Warrior is not, let's say, technically sound. Bobby Heenan had reservations working with the Ultimate Warrior because, again, he's very stiff and not a quote-unquote safe workers, because sometimes, I don't know if this is true, TW, but some of those times that Bobby Heenan wore a neck brace, 9 times out of 10, he was doing some house shows with the Ultimate Warrior, or one of his guys was wrestling with the Ultimate Warrior, and the Ultimate Warrior just went buck wild with Bobby the Brain Heenan, and then sometimes he had to wear a neck brace after the fact. So again, that's another conspiracy theory. Is there a fly in your house?
Nope.
The fuck you looking at?
Just surveying the room.
Jesus Christ. I'm looking for thumbs up, and then you do the Stevie Wonder head and neck moves, and now you're just looking around like, what the fuck am I looking at? But I thought you saw some illegal immigrants. But anyway, neither here nor there. But let's talk about this special attraction match between the Ultimate Warrior and Bobby the Brain Heenan, TW. So take it over with this match that you saw. Definitely you saw.
It's funny you say that about the stiff stuff, because basically fucking Heenan just takes. But first of all, I got to say this. I'm sick and tired of these fuckers picking on the Warrior. For one, they basically bullied the guy from fucking Jump Street. And 2, he defended himself. And 3, if he was stiff, Rick Rude has been documented is giving it back to him. Andre gave it back to him. But it's almost a case of the chicken and the egg. What came first? Was he stiff?
Well, we're not talking about wrestler to wrestler. Again, you can hold your own, but this is Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Bitching about him not being safe and all that. Meanwhile,
he was wearing neck braces for months.
Gimmick. That's a gimmick.
I don't know. Some of them he said that were legitimate.
Bobby Heenan takes some of the most fucking brutal bumps that he's the reason he gets hurt. All the Warrior's doing is tossing him. He's the one, even when Hogan threw him into the fucking cage, he's the one taking these fucking shit bumps, landing on his fucking shoulder and ass instead of taking an actual bump, which is why it stunned me to find out he used to be a wrestler before he became a manager, right? But they didn't bump back then when he was wrestling.
You got to start somewhere, TW. So, he was a wrestler.
He must not have been a very good wrestler, and that's why he became a manager, because he bumps for shit.
He was a wrestler that didn't get over, and then he knew he had the athletic acumen to use that and parlay that into managerial status.
Every fucking time he bumps, I think to myself, that is fucking garbage. It looks great for the fans to see him getting fucking killed, but for me as a wrestler, I see a guy who's fucking hurting himself.
So what you're saying is the greatest manager in everybody's hierarchy in Mount Rushmore is an AEW outlaw mudslinger?
He's a fucking terrible bumper, dude. It's for his own sake, he was a terrible bumper. And to run around blaming it on the Warrior, however, that's said.
Okay.
Warrior whooped his fucking ass. And then he fucking potato sacks the Warrior when he's putting the fucking weasel suit on him. So the Warrior just starts paintbrush slapping him. And that's on him, because he was purposely sandbagging the Warrior so he couldn't put the suit on him. And they had a little conversation when he was putting the arm in there, because he was probably fucking breaking his arm to put it in there. But again, it's on Heenan because he's not helping. Half the fucking job of a wrestler is to help the other guy not look like an asshole. And Heenan's purposely trying to make Warrior look stupid by sandbagging him. You think I ain't sandbagged a couple motherfuckers in my day? Hell yeah, I did, because they did something to me that made me. I sandbagged Manny Fernandez, dude. Sandbagged him because he tried to make me and Legacy look like bitches. So motherfucker got his receipt in match. And same thing with that Bo James dumbass. Warrior, paintbrush, and Heenan had me laughing so hard, because I'm thinking, okay, this is either where Bobby hated him, this is where the start of that hate is, or they just didn't like each other from the get, and Warrior's like, fuck you, buddy. I'm going to put this weasel suit on you, and you're going to like it.
Well, remember, TW, for logistic purposes, again, like I said, the weasel suit is owned and operated by Bobby the Brain Heenan. He brought this from his house.
Right.
And the weasel suit match started in the AWA against Greg Gagne. So that's why that suit it still fits him. It still fit him to that day. So it was going to be his and his alone. So he was, if you're not going to have a weasel suit match without Bobby the Brain Heenan, number one. So like I said, this already happened in 1981 against Greg Gagne. So, but the ending and the culmination of Bobby the Brain Heenan doing that was 7 years in the making, because he did that at the St. Paul Civic Center. The way he looked at his hands with the weasel claws and all that stuff, the way he chased his own tail and falls back flat on his ass.
That video.
Yeah, it's he did, he regurgitated the same thing, and Milwaukee loved it. Milwaukee laughed. 26,000 people are calling him Weasel. So the reason I'm saying that, Reflectionites, and maybe TW will retort back a little bit, because again, people complain about certain things being regurgitated, rinse and repeat, and all that stuff. But this is a great indication, and I'm giving you, the actual factuals, Reflectionites. If he did this in 1981 and 1982 against Greg Gagne in the Weasel suit, and he does it 6 or 7 years later in Milwaukee County Stadium, and again, Milwaukee is technically AWA country, so it's not like they didn't hear about this. It's not like they didn't see the tapes of Bobby the Brain Heenan in a Weasel suit in AWA. He repeated the same shit he did, but he anointed the Ultimate Warrior to get that special spot. So TW, do you agree, disagree, or have a different take on that?
I've seen him do the video stuff in the AWA where it's almost tit for tat. But when it comes to him and the Warriors, it's again.
I know you got a soft spot for the Warrior. You feel an affinity for the Warrior.
The hate from Heenan towards the Warrior has just been. It's like it's up there with Bret Hart bitching about Goldberg for me.
Everybody has some not professional jealousy, but there's some professional animosity between two people.
Heenan, if everywhere that fucking Warrior made a dime other than Hogan and Macho Man, Heenan made a dime with him. Because he did it with Rude. He did it with Hercules. He did it with fucking Dino Bravo. He did it. Well, he might have been Jimmy Hart. But Warrior made Bobby Heenan money.
No. Put it this way. And I'm going to defend Bobby Heenan here to a degree. Bobby Heenan might have professional animosity with anybody he sees in the wrestling business. If it's the Warrior, if it's Tony Schiavone. But he never parlays that on TV. He never parlays that in front of 20,000 people.
Is what you're saying.
He can do business with anybody. He'll just he'll do what's best for business, like we've always heard that term. Right. And then when the lights go out and he goes back into the curtain, then he can say "fuck you, Warrior," "fuck you, Schiavone." That you got, at least you got to respect Bobby Heenan for that. He can compartmentalize. I hate you.
Separate business and pleasure. Yeah.
Right. I hate you, but give me that money. That's the thing.
Yeah, but I guess what you're saying is Heenan has to agree to do it with the Warrior because it's his gimmick. Mm-hmm. But I would definitely say it wasn't Heenan's idea to give it to the Warrior. I would say it was Vince.
It was Vince's idea, and of course Vince is going to pay Heenan the money for him to do that because Vince saw the bigger picture. When Bobby Heenan anoints somebody into that next level, that's a big fucking deal. He didn't do, Warrior didn't do that. If the Warrior did that against Mr. Fuji, not a Weasel suit, but just a match alone, that's not going to mean nothing. That's not going to mean anything for Warrior to become the Intercontinental Champion. That damn sure doesn't mean he's going to beat Hogan in WrestleMania 6 and become the WWF Champion if he does that to Fuji or if he does that to Jimmy Hart. No disrespect to Jimmy Hart. He had to do it against Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Heenan's the A manager. And basically, once Hogan was done with all of Heenan's guys in 86, 87, Warrior tagged in, and he's the guy feuding with the Heenan fam with help. Andre at that point is DiBiase's guy, not Heenan's. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Heenan could have refused. Yes, that's definitely an option, but he didn't. But I still don't think he picked the Warrior to anoint.
Well, we'll agree.
He probably said, "Well, if this is going to be your new cash cow, COUNT me in. Let me grab my weasel suit. Pay me. Pay me.
Let's put a bow on this match.
Fuck that. Fuck a bow on this match. The Ultimate Warrior won with a fucking sleeper hold. That's something to behold. We should find that on a baseball card and frame it.
Well, did the sleeper hold look good? Did it look technically sound?
Looked like he was fucking sleeper holding his ass. He might not have been sandbagging. He might have been.
That was not a sleeper hold. That was the MMA chokehold, and then he just did this just to make it look like a sleeper hold.
It looked like a fucking hug.
It kind of did. He looked like he raped him, but again, neither here nor there. But
the willing.
We must go on, TW, with another high-profile match on this one because again, one of the big summer feuds that kind of sprinkled it. I think it started like maybe in June, give or take, June of '88. because then it parlayed into SummerSlam 88, was Jake the Snake Roberts and ravishing Rick Rude. Again, everything, dispelled from Rick Rude having the, affinity for Jake Roberts' wife, Cheryl Roberts, and she agreed to do all this stuff. And again, you blurred the lines of reality. And even as it's 1988, I'm 11 years old. I'm like, oh, goddamn, this is hot shit. This is like, what's the talk show? Oh, this is Morton Downey Jr. talk show shit. I'm excited for this shit.
He's in the Hall of Fame for WWE, isn't he?
No, he's not.
He should be. He was on there.
He was, but it was only one time only. But again, you get where I'm going with this.
No,
is reality.
he was on Raw. The motherfucker came on a Raw one time too.
Who, Downey?
Yeah.
That might be a Mandela effect, or I didn't watch it. But anyway, neither here nor there. But we're talking about the
Piper.
Yeah, well, that was WrestleMania 89. But anyway, let's focus on the match at hand. Let's focus on the feud at hand, because this is building up TW again. Because maybe I'm thinking again the logistical flaw of this. Because again, with this match that happens at WrestleFest 88, it ends in a double countout. So it's kind of a schmaz. It's kind of the dusty. Stop with the thumbs up, man. It's gonna come up. If it comes up, it comes up.
Let it both of them.
Let it come up naturally. Let it just come up naturally. I'm trying to do a goddamn show here. But anyway, we know that the ends in a double countout. It's kind of a schmaz, and then it parlays into SummerSlam 88. So again, I have a problem with this match logistically with the flaws of it. But what's AETW about this match, this feud that's drumming up between Jake the Snake Roberts and Rick Rude? Talk about the match. Talk about anything that you want.
I don't know if it's the stink of AEW on him or what, or if it's his comeback when he came back with the Bible stuff. But this match reminded me that Jake the Snake Roberts was fucking way better than I remember him as, because
the AEW Jake the Snake Roberts is a recovering alcoholic.
There's a reason I brought that one up. Right?
Okay. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He looks like a tiny guy, like just not frail, not recovering addict. He just looks like he's not that big. And he fucking slid in that ring and did a nice little tap on Rude before fucking doing some beautiful work punches.
Mm-hmm.
Jake the Snake was fucking huge. I didn't remember him as being huge, man, but
he was slim and huge. Well, he was
right,
six.
But he's
what was
big
6'5"?
in this match. But he's so fucking smooth that Sam Houston's his brother too, right? It's them two and Rock and Robin.
Yeah, they're all related in some.
So
capacity.
he's like, Sam Houston is way bigger than I remember too. He's still thin, but that's the thing. He's still fucking taller than everybody. Jake just towered over Rude, and Rude wasn't particularly big. He was just ripped. And but Jake was so fucking fluid in a wrestling ring when he was heel Jake, and then babyface because Rude turned him babyface. No, Honky Tonk did, and then Rude. He's just so much. He's another guy that I think after watching this and reminded me of how good he was. He's another guy that's on that list with Scott Hall of. He's the reason he was never world champion. His demons, because he absolutely could have been. And I know he claims his claim to fame. He personally said he never needed the belt. But I feel like that's revisionist history. That's him justifying not having one, right? But the fact that he was never IC champ, I don't know who you tag champ him with, but maybe even Warrior before the turn. Maybe him and Warrior tag champs.
Well, remember in the hierarchy of popularity here at TW. Look at this. Hogan and Macho Man are tier A.
Right.
Tier B, you got Roberts and Warrior right there. So, they're one rung down, so it doesn't matter right there. But that's a good pillar of popularity right there.
Yeah, it is. But what I'm saying is Rude, Jake the Snake is just, he's fucking good, dude. Like, it's underrated how good he is. And he never won a belt in WCW either, did he?
No, he didn't.
But see, that ass end of his career, he's wearing fucking jogging pants instead of those snake spandex. And he looked homeless is what he looked. And he looked slumped down. He wasn't the same guy on the comeback. And again, I only threw AEW in there is because he just doesn't look like a star. Like when you see Kevin Nash, I fucking hate him a little more every day. But when you see Kevin Nash, he still looks like a fucking star, right? Like, he looks like a 60-year-old guy that if he was 5 years younger, he'd still be in there going because he takes care of himself, and that's
but he's got bad legs no matter what.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but I mean the camera part of him. Whereas Jake,
I hear you.
Jake looks like Ron Jeremy now, so it's like you just don't see Star, right? When I see Sid,
Jake Roberts is the warthog,
right? So when I see Sid still looks like a fucking 60-year-old guy that used to be a star. Billy Graham, Billy Graham, that's his name, right? Superstar Billy Graham. He still looked like a star in his 60s. Like, you get it. Hogan still looks like a star in his 60s. Macho Man would if he was still around. Warrior would if he was still around. And so because Jake let himself go, Scott Hall let himself go, but kind of brought it back somewhat when he got right. You just forget how good these fucking guys were. And I mean, I was a huge Scott Hall fan from the rip.
So technically, let's go back to this match. This match is very underrated as a great match.
Yes,
for both purposes.
Rude is him and Mr. Perfect are my pick for guys that never won the world title that should have, right?
They were both world champions. They were both world champions.
No, not Perfect. I meant to say DiBiase. DiBiase and another thing I want to say before I forget.
Okay.
I'm sure we're not going to talk about Honky Tonk and the Hacksaw because it's a bunch of nothing, but I love, and this is what I miss, and I like they kind of are doing it in WWE right now, other than the fact that I don't know these fucking guys, but they're bringing in these bloodline guys fresh off the fucking frying pan of New Japan. They didn't have to fucking go underground and then come up in fucking 6 months. I like that. I like what they did with AJ, but he was like one of the rare ones to do it. Cody, obviously, but he was already there before. I miss, like, I watched this, and the only one missing would be One Man Gang. Duggan came to WWE fucking, like, he was on UWF TV on fucking Sunday, and on Saturday he's on WWE Superstars, and they never fucking used him as anything other than a star, right? DiBiase, fucking star. They created a belt for him. One Man Gang became Akeem. He was a fucking star. The only one that really fucking, and Boss Man is a UWF. He was the last UWF champion. Terry Gordy got a little bit of a run, but he was sick by the time he got. But fucking for some reason, Dr. Death Steve Williams, it just didn't work. It just didn't. And Terry Taylor got fucked with the Red Rooster. He's right there. But again, all these UWF guys came in. Junkyard Dog, basically Mid-South is UWF. He comes in. They were just fucking stars right away. I miss that. I'm glad that Hunter is starting to let people keep names and starting to let people come straight to that don't need the fucking seasoning, if you will, of NXT. I like that they're getting back to that because that's what makes it exciting, right? Like you got a guy who
wait. I'm getting confused now. I understand the other hyperboles, but what that have to do with Duggan and Honky Tonk? What?
I said I'm sure we're not going to talk about the match, but here's
you can talk about it if you want.
IC title.
Okay.
And, the only thing I really wanted to point out about this match is it's a dead giveaway that there's a gimmick guitar in Honky Tonk Man's matches because he always busted over people's heads.
He had no choice because Jake. Yeah,
this one was not gimmicked, and I think it was not gimmicked on purpose because no one took it to the head. Duggan destroyed it with the 2x4, and the reason I think it wasn't gimmicked is because Honky Tonk Man dropped it when Duggan came sliding in the ring with Jimmy Hart and ducked. That gimmick guitar would have hit the ground and broke. So I think they purposely used a real one in this one because they weren't hitting anybody over the head with it. And then Duggan legit beat the shit out of it with a 2x4. And it broke when it broke over someone's head when Honky Tonk did it, it exploded. It had the baby powder in it, and it looked like an explosion. This looked like when you broke a baseball bat over your leg. But I think this shows a good example of Sam Houston came from the fucking NWA. Granted, he got jobbed out to Haku, but they were building Haku. He had stole the King gimmick from Harley Race, so he's King Haku. I just that's one.
He didn't steal the King gimmick.
He was given it by Heenan. But that's what I like about this show is this one show shows you so much. Powers of Pain. They came out there and I think they wrestled the Bolsheviks.
The Bolsheviks, yeah.
They fucking came in and just were stars right away.
Remember, let's stick on the Powers of Pain and Bolsheviks for a second. You don't have to talk about. Well, if you want to talk about the match, that's fine.
No, it's a fucking stupid match.
This was technically hot property of Powers of Pain. This was technically, We know that, for the hardcore wrestling fans, they couldn't afford the Road Warriors. So
or they just wouldn't come.
Or they wouldn't come. But if they were loyal to NWA, neither here nor there. But the powers were paying, again, for the hardcore Meltzer Martards, oh my God, Road Warrior ripoffs. But for WWF fans who did not watch NWA television, holy shit, you got 2 6'5", 300-pound dudes looking the way they looked, kicking ass, and they picked the Bolsheviks.
And fuck you, Meltzer, because they became the Road Warrior ripoffs in the fucking NWA where they got put together when they were singles wrestlers to feud with who? The fucking Road Warriors. So you created that clone. You can get on them for making Demolition look like fucking Road Warrior wannabes, which there are people who will argue to the death the Demolition are better than the Road Warriors. I ain't one of those people, but I will say this. They're way better than fucking clones of the Warriors. I would say Powers of Pain are clones of the Warriors through and through. They never did shit, right? Demolition did shit. They wrestled the Hart Foundation. They wrestled Strike Force. On this show, they wrestled Bulldogs. They wrestled the fucking Killer Bees. They have the fucking rap sheet of fucking being around. The pedigree. That's the word you use all the time. They have it. And they were the fucking top guys. They wrestled the Nasty Boys. They wrestled the fucking Road Warrior. They wrestled all of them. And the Powers of Pain. And they were fucking good. Demolition.
This goes to what you're saying, that how good the tag team division was in the WWF in the mid 80s.
And I didn't
85 to 90.
I have a picture in the other room of me wearing a Powers of Pain shirt in the fucking 9th or 10th grade because I fucking popped for them and I knew who the Road Warriors were. That's my thing. I never looked at them as fake Road Warriors because I saw them wrestle the fucking Road Warriors.
But again, TW, let's not put a bow on this. But again, the representation of Powers of Pain coming from NWA, nobody knows like what's going on logistically behind the scenes because again, we don't have social media at a premium, and no one's paying like $2.99 for a phone call a minute. Fuck that shit. You get in trouble.
Pay phone like a dumbass. But
I remember doing. Well, my brother and I, we did it once, and we got
the switch.
Yeah. Well, not get the switch. we tried to like say, no, we didn't call nobody. I don't know who did it. How the hell can we lie and say no one knew who did it and all that stuff? But again, neither here nor there. That's being young and dumb back then. But when you're calling a 900 number in the fucking midnight and it's an hour long call, like, oh shit, you're gonna get in trouble. You already know this. You're gonna get in trouble no matter what. But again, neither here nor there. That's great memories back then. But the Powers of Pain represented some, a good infusion to the tag team division. And again, maybe they wanted them to be the Road Warriors. It didn't work out like that. And Vince McMahon turned them heel. Again, that's hyperboles. But let's switch it right now because again, we could probably close it out with the special tag team championship match between Demolition and the British Bulldogs. Because again, the Demolition was building on the legacy. Again, they were still being called Road Warrior ripoffs no matter what. And again, Crusher Khrushchev.
I argue they had a better look than the fucking Road Warriors.
You know what?
Mad Max fucking.
They have a different look because of the face paint, because they made sure that it was nothing of a knockoff with what Road Warriors did.
They had long hair.
No, when you look at Axe, he painted his whole goddamn. Well, both of them, Axe and Smash, painted their whole goddamn faces. And
but I'm talking about those leather masks, the fucking vests with they look like Humongous from fucking Mad Max.
Yeah, they looked like Humongous first, but the face paint, they had to be very distinctly different from the Road Warriors, even though they are quote unquote Road Warrior ripoffs. They were more technically sound than the Road Warriors, and this match against the British Bulldogs, TW, take it home and prove people why Demolition is a better tag team than the Road Warriors, technically.
Because, I mean, look at it. This, by the way, never knew this match occurred until this show. This is after Dynamite got his back fucked up, so I'm just stunned to see him in the ring at all. This is probably not long before the Rock and Roll Express versus Bulldogs match. So the Bulldogs every day are making a fucking case, getting back up in my top 4. Damn it. But they have such a good match. And then I noticed something, and I thought, they're obviously bigger now than they were when they first got there in 86, the Bulldogs. And 85. And basically, Davey Boy was the bigger of the two, but was still tiny in comparison to other guys. But the thing they did that went under the radar for me until this match, because wasn't Lord Alfred Hayes involved? Was he the third guy?
In what? In commentary?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, where he goes, normally the two little guys start in the speedsters, but the two big guys are starting in there. And he was talking about Smash and Davey Boy. They ain't nobody on the planet calling Axe the speedster of fucking Demolition. So I think he fucking confused them. Although Smash was fucking bigger. So Davey and Smash had a nice little exchange. Dynamite came in and held his own. Dynamite didn't look little, but what they did that went under the radar, they did it against Valentine and Beefcake. They did it against the Hart Foundation. They did it against guys their own size, but they also did it against bigger guys like Demolition. Davey Boy picked up Dynamite and threw him at people instead of picking up the bigger guys and doing shit like that to them.
He did the slingshot with Dynamite. He did the slingshot.
Right.
With Dynamite.
It was almost no one else was doing that because most tag teams, they were the same size. You didn't have one guy fucking tossing the other guy around for offense. And that was pretty in what's the word? Innovative. That's the word. Innovative. And and the finish for this match, because I'm thinking, man, are they going to fucking get jobbed out like Sam Houston and Bret Hart just saying? Nope. They fucking were winning. And then Fuji got in there and they fucking hit Dynamite with the fucking cane. And he got pinned from being screwed. But it was a perfect heel finish. It made people mad. They wanted to see the Bulldogs come back. They weren't even on the SummerSlam card, were they?
Bulldogs? Yeah, they were.
Who were they fighting on that one?
Rougeos. And after that, they got fired after a couple of months. Well, that's when they were on probation. And then November they did Survivor Series, and then they got fired after that.
Yeah, they were in '88 Survivor Series. Yeah. So that means that means Dynamite came back for a whole nother fucking year after that fucking back injury, which I thought ended his career. That was the same day.
Well, he never was the same because he had to take painkillers. So it's not like he was.
That was the same day that Andre ripped the gold necklace off of Hogan. Is when Davey Boy and Dynamite lost the belts to the fucking Hart Foundation.
I think they were like 2 weeks apart.
No, it was the same. I fucking cried watching it.
That's your Mandela effect. We're not gonna prove that one, but anyway, neither here nor there.
Whatever.
But with that being said, Reflectionites, let's put a bow on this. Let's just close it out with WrestleFest '88 in a whole totality. What could have been, like we said, this could have been the start of the SummerSlam tour, which would have ended with a pay-per-view at the end of the month. But again, with what WWE is doing now, because sometimes you don't even know where they're going to put the fucking pay-per-view on a Saturday. It could be the first week, it could be the first Saturday, it could be the last Saturday, it could be
2 weeks after the last one, or fucking 6
it makes it harder now to do what we talked about hypothetically, but it could have worked it would have worked in the 80s, definitely would have worked in the 90s, but again in the 2000s it's very it's up in the air, it's a wild card. But what say you about what WrestleFest, what it could mean if they try to revitalize that concept back? It could be a great Peacock event, right?
I don't know how you do it now because the Peacock is already the PLEs, and I don't know if
who could take it? NXT. They could do NXT WrestleFest if they really chose to do it.
But it would be live, is my point. It wouldn't be recorded for video. I like the idea of having an event, and I think they have done one once where they did some show and they said it airs on Wednesday. I just don't remember what it was. It's probably within the last 5, maybe 10 years. But I like the idea of having this big fucking show somewhere where it pays to go to see it live, because you might not necessarily even know that it's being recorded for a video to be released down the road. But unfortunately, DVDs and VHSs, they're all fucking the way of the dinosaur. Nobody's buying them. But what I do hate, and I would love for it to replace, is this fucking Great American Bash on Wednesday nights being 2 weeks for NXT. I hate it. I fucking hate it. If it was 2 nights in a row, I wouldn't hate it. But the fact that it's 2 weeks in a row, however, it's almost a tip of the hat to Dusty that it's a series, right? I say, fuck it, not eliminate it. First 2 weeks of July or August, whatever the fuck they just aired, last 2 weeks, do that, and then have the NXT PLE be WrestleFest right after the Great American Bash 2 weeks. So maybe first and second week of July, Great American Bash, another week of regular NXT, and then that Saturday is PLE. Or it could be the same weekend as SummerSlam, but NXT.
Right. So, it could work if Triple H is a Reflectionite. he does listen. So,
Sean, we gotta talk to Sean about this one to get Triple H to do it.
Sean is listening to Sexy Red right now, so I don't know what the hell he's doing right now. So,
that chick's trying to get him divorced, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, he is. But with that being said, we close on this episodic episode number 187, WrestleFest 1988 from Milwaukee County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. TW, I can't believe we got some time, we got some content, we kind of debated a little bit here and there, so it was a very good show. I'm very proud of this show. So, and I'm going to give you a little announcement, Reflectionites, on the next episode of the PWR podcast.
Shouldn't even do it. let it be a surprise in case you JB's us.
You know what? Yeah, we might have a special guest coming on the next episode of the PWR podcast. And for this incoming guest, TW, hopefully he will come. It's a he. It's not a It's not binary. It's not no they them. It's a he. Yes, I will. But neither here nor there.
Whoa!
Again, but TW.
Whoa!
I'm gonna give you a good show. I'm gonna give this guest hopefully. Jesus Christ! You came. You really came. My God, you came. I didn't come. You came. But anyway, TW, for the next episode of the PWR, for the guests, but mostly for you too, because I think you're gonna like this. It's time to change the course of wrestling history. It's time to do another what if and all that stuff. So TW, this is going to be I need you to really think about this because we already talked about with WrestleFest, the tag team scene here with the Powers of Pain, the Bolsheviks, the Killer Bees, Demolition, the British Bulldogs. But
Conquistadors.
But during this show, TW, I thought about it. What if, and TW, you're going to love this. What if the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express came to the WWF during the Renaissance era of tag team wrestling in the mid 80s for the WWF? So TW, I need you to think about it. I need you to book it. Could the Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express
got the first booking for him right off the rip.
There you go. But could that feud parlay itself from the NWA to the WWF? Who the Midnight Express would feud with in WWF? Who the Rock and Roll Express would feud with in the WWF? So TW, are you ready to do a what if? You're going to change the course of tag team wrestling history for the WWF with the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express coming to the WWF in the mid 80s. Are you ready for that? Are you excited? It's not working. Get the fireworks going. Get the fireworks going. Well, with that being said, there you go. Can you say yes too?
Yes. See, I already got shit running through my head.
All right, that's good. That's all I need you. But you put a thumbs down. But anyway, TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here.
All righty. The Pro Wrestling Coalition Network sponsors us in probation from the PWC Network at podbean.com. You can also catch the Hameen Media Group at podbean.com as well as HMG at channelattitude.com. You can catch us on the X with the PT Elon interview that happened on the X. PT's President Trump, in case you don't know. Catch PW Reflection at PW Reflection on there. You can catch JB. I said I wasn't going to get his socials out, but I'm going to because I want him to come back for a show one day. And he's at the P1JB, meaning prodigal one, like you say, right? JB on the X. You can catch Big Ray everywhere on social media at Big Ray Hernandez and doing the Next Level podcast every Wednesday live. And he's doing something on Tuesdays now, the Raw review or something with Colin.
With Jimmy T.
Oh, Jimmy T. Okay. You can catch him there. You can catch me on X and Instagram at TommyWonder19. Catch me on Snapchat at #Wonder. Facebook.com/TommyWonder. And then back to X and TikTok at the Tommy Wonder. And you can catch Noel and Big Vito at the Big Vito brand on TikTok. And you can get an early release watching of the Reflection video at Big Ray Hernandez on X.
And you can find me on the Xer myself. You know, Elon Musk follows the professor, if y'all didn't know this. But you can follow me at PWSPRF. That's PWSPRF. Stop with the thumbs up. Let it just happen naturally. You don't do anything. But anyway, if this gets openly released by 8-Track Brown on the PWSO YouTube network, it probably will be available, hopefully with no copyright strikes. Follow my brothers in arms, A-Track Brown, the king of the reactions. He just did a reaction for all the upcoming trailers of Walking Dead, Dead City, and Star Wars, Skeleton Crew, and all that stuff. You can check him out on his Xer at the number 8 TRAC Brown, and the host of the Wednesday Locker Room, Billy Ray Valentine, at Obi-Wan You Know Me. And again, next week, we're going to do a very special What If. Hopefully, our guest will be here next week, and we're going to try to change the course of WWF Tag Team Wrestling history. What if the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express came to the WWF in the mid-80s? So with that being said, I'm the Professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, Dum Dum Do 80s on the Iron Stomach One, and the Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the World, the man who likes to thumb up his ass, Tommy Wonder, saying good night, and we'll see you next time here at the PWR Podcast, the How Many Media Group at podbean.com. Peace. Jesus Christ. Stop it. It's not going to come.